My brother lifted his glass and declared, "Here's to family, except for Jake, the loser who thinks wealth defines his worth." My parents chuckled, prompting me to raise my glass and respond, "To the loser who just quit funding everything you possess." Hey Reddit, I'm Jake 32M. Have you ever had a moment when years of silence, sacrifices, and holding back just burst forth in a single remark? For me, that moment occurred during dinner after a lifetime of feeling like I didn't quite belong in my own family. My brother made a harsh joke. My parents laughed, and I distanced myself from them all. I grew up in a household where love was doled out through tears. At the forefront was Cameron, 34M, my older brother. Tall, athletic, charming. He was the favored child. My parents nearly shaped their identities around him. Every achievement of his was a family festivity. Football trophies, science fair awards, even his unsuccessful musical pursuits, all proudly showcased on the wall. I was the quiet one. I preferred sketchbooks, computers, and books over pep rallies and prom nights. I wasn't rebellious, just invisible. While Cameron received cheers, I was given shoulder pads and occasional reminders to act more normal. My mom would say, "Jake's just different." My dad remarked, "He'll find his path eventually." But that eventually never appeared. By 18, while Cameron was still enjoying his time at community college, I was coding. I developed a small app in high school that earned me enough to avoid fast food jobs. I kept it to myself. I had learned early on that my family didn't get it, and worse, didn't care. When I mentioned to my dad that I was thinking of skipping a traditional 4-year college to focus on creating a real product, he replied, "That's not a career, it's a hobby." Then he returned to watching Cameron play video games. So, at 19, I moved out not out of anger, but out of necessity. I rented a basement room with mold on the ceiling, survived on canned soup for weeks, and worked tirelessly, freelancing in coding, consulting, building, and testing. By 23, I had created a security plugin that caught the attention of a startup incubator. By 25, I had established my own company. And by 28, I was a multimillionaire. I kept it low-key, wore the same hoodie, drove a Corolla, but I had built something genuine, something that was entirely mine. Then, for the first time in years, my family reached out. It began simply. "Hey, Dad's truck is breaking down. Can you help? Cameron's in a tight spot. Rent is overdue. Mom needs a new laptop for her candle business." I agreed every time. Not because I wanted to buy their affection, but because I had spent my entire life trying to earn it, and this, in a twisted way, felt like my final opportunity. So I paid. Silently. I cleared their mortgage, settled Cameron's credit card debt, bought Dad a new truck, got Cameron a car again, covered utilities, holidays, gifts, but I remained in the background. Even after all that, I wasn't really part of the family. I was just the one keeping the lights on. Then came the night everything shifted. Cameron and his fiancée, Dana, invited me to what was meant to be a small dinner. They had gotten engaged a few months prior, and this was a casual gathering with both families. I brought a custom-engraved champagne set and a vintage bottle to celebrate. There were about 15 people, close friends, cousins, our parents, and Dana's sister. I wore a blazer and dress shoes, even got a haircut. The evening began normally. Dinner, light conversation, awkward smiles. Then Cameron stood up, clinking his glass. "I want to make a toast," he announced. Everyone quieted down. He scanned the room, then locked eyes with me, and with the most insincere grin, he said, "Here's to family, except for Jake, the loser who thinks wealth makes him valuable." A few people chuckled nervously. My mom, my own mother, laughed heartily, as if it were the funniest joke she'd heard all year. My dad smirked and shook his head, but said nothing. No one defended me. I sat there in shock, as if someone had sucked the oxygen out of the room. And then, without thinking, I stood up. I raised my glass and addressed the loser who just stopped funding everything you own. The room froze, mouths agape. Champagne halfway to lips. Silence. Then I set my glass down, donned my jacket, and departed. That was it. No shouting, no dramatic exit, just me. Finally finished performing for people who viewed me as a wallet with feet. I got in my car and drove. No music, no GPS, just instinct. Halfway across town, my phone started buzzing. "Cameron. Bro, what the hell was that?" "Mom. That was uncalled for." "Jake. You embarrassed your brother." "Dad. Grow up and take a joke." I didn't reply. But the next morning, I began making my own calls to my bank, my lawyer, and every utility account I had access to. I canceled every automatic payment, mortgage, car note, transferred everything back to my name, disconnected the family phone plan, stopped Cameron's monthly allowance, and liquidated the emergency fund I'd set up for them. I sent Cameron one text. Hope Dana enjoys public transport. Then I went quiet. I didn't do it to be mean. I did it because for the first time in my life, I saw things clearly. I had been investing in people who had never, not once, invested in me, and I was done pretending. The morning after dinner, I woke up to a barrage of unread messages. Cameron had posted some half-hearted rant on Facebook about how money doesn't equal class, and how some people forget their roots. There were passive-aggressive digs, and he tagged our parents in the post as if it were some kind of united family stance against me. I didn't respond, not online, not privately, but I observed it all unfold like a silent bystander, detached from the chaos for once. Within the first week, the repercussions began. The car I had leased for Cameron was repossessed. The utilities at my parents' house were shut off until they scrambled to open new accounts. The family phone plan I had was gone. I received an angry voicemail from my dad. "This is childish, Jake. You're punishing your mother. Get over yourself." I saved the message and then blocked his number. By week 2, my cousins began messaging me. One of them, Leah, wrote, "Hey, that toast was awful. I wanted to say something, but didn't want to make it worse. You didn't deserve that. I'm sorry." Another cousin simply sent, "We're not all like them. I appreciated what you did." Quiet support still meant something. Cameron remained silent, at least towards me. But according to Leah, he was spiraling, blaming everyone but himself, ranting about how he built this family bond and how Jake is tearing it apart with his ego. Irony at its finest. Then came Dana. She reached out 2 weeks after dinner. "Hey Jake, I should have spoken up that night. I didn't, and that's on me. But I've been reflecting a lot about Cameron and our future. The way he ridiculed you and how your parents laughed, it's not just about that dinner. It's a pattern. I'm ending the engagement. I'm sorry for not recognizing it sooner. Take care, Dana." I didn't respond immediately. I just stared at that message, feeling relief for her, for me, and for the fact that someone finally recognized what I had seen for years. I replied the next day saying, "No apology needed." That took courage. "I hope you find someone who appreciates you without needing to put someone else down." She liked the message. That was the last we communicated. Over the following months, the distance expanded, not just physically, but emotionally. My mom attempted to contact me via email. "Jake, you've made your point. It's been difficult without your support. But this isn't what family does." No apology, no reflection, just a list of complaints wrapped in guilt. I responded with one question. "Would you have laughed if Cameron had said that to someone else?" She didn't reply. By the 4th month, they ceased their attempts. Cameron moved back in with them after losing another temp job, his 3rd that year. He had been bouncing between low-level jobs for years, never staying more than 6 months anywhere. His resume resembled a game of hopscotch. Without my support, the walls began closing in on them. Their lifestyle, once cushioned by my silent generosity, shrank back to what they could genuinely afford. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one shrinking. I used that time to grow. I began therapy, real therapy, not the kind where you bottle everything up and push through. I learned that setting boundaries isn't cruel, that silence doesn't always mean peace, and that no amount of money can buy respect from those who've already decided you're not worth it. I adopted a rescue dog named Comet, got back into digital art, and took a solo trip to Tokyo. Every step I took felt like shedding a weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying since childhood. Then, almost exactly a year after that dinner, I received a handwritten letter in the mail, no return address. It was from my mom. "Jake, you made your point. We understand, but you can't just abandon your family. Blood is blood. You're still our son." I stared at it for a long time, then folded it, placed it in a drawer, and never replied. Because here's the truth. Blood is biology, but family is about actions. And they never chose to behave like family. I haven't spoken to any of them since. I'm sure they've rewritten the narrative, casting me as the villain who abandoned his family for money. But I've stopped reshaping myself to fit their version of love. Maybe they need to do that. But I don't, because I don't need to win anymore. I just needed to walk away. I now live in a coastal town. It's quiet and serene. I run my own company, donate to causes I care about, and mentor kids who remind me of my younger self, smart, overlooked, and just needing one person to believe in them. As for Cameron, the last I heard, he was working retail part-time and still blaming me for leaving the family. But I didn't abandon anyone. I stopped financing their illusions. That night, when I raised my glass and spoke those words to the loser who just stopped funding everything he owns, I wasn't angry. I was finally free. I used to plead for space at their table, but now I sit at my own. And every time I pour a drink, I toast to peace. Not because I won, but because I finally stopped needing them to comprehend who I am.